Hi guys, welcome to Finesse Gaming. Thank you for tuning in. Hope you're all having a fantastic day. So in today's video is going to be a simple question, and that is, can a £40 webcam, which is sitting right by here, can that match this camera? And also I will add in, can the Logitech C920, which is next to it right by there, can that do the same job? We have two cameras here, £40, and Logitech is roughly about 90, or should be about 90 at full price. Can it match this camera? Let's find out. So before we begin, let's go over a couple of things that we need to know, and we'll set out how we're going to do this video. So to begin with, this camera that you're looking at right now is the Sony A5100. It's a mirrorless camera, as you may know, and it comes with the stock lens as well. So that's what I use for recording. And because it's a mirrorless camera, I need to use the Elgato cam link over there as well. And that's how I get it all through, and you see it like this. So visually it's very good. There are lots and lots of options with these cameras in terms of color, so you can see the color spectrum. Like this basically starts at a reddy orange, goes to pink to purple, and all the way to blue over that side. I'm lit up quite well. The room is quite nicely lit up in here, so I've got good lighting, but generally the picture is very good. And I've changed the settings, so I will say before we go on to looking at the other two, the settings are already made up for this one to be pretty good, as I can get them to be. I'm not going to go on to those settings for this. I will do another video on that if you want that. But right now we're just going to go ahead and look at the Logitech as it comes out of the box, and the this is the Relano HD webcam as well, and see how that one looks out of the box. And then we're going to try and make them look as good as we can in the streaming software. Okay, so the first thing we're going to look at is the Logitech, and I will just say take note of the color of specifically me and the background, because that is going to be the biggest difference between these cameras, these webcams I should say, and this camera is the color. So all of these cameras, just so we know, are HD, and they're all running at 30 frames per second. This camera, the Sony, can do 60 frames per second. It's not a 4K camera, it's only full HD at 1080p, so they're all doing 1080p, but I record everything anyway at 30 frames per second. So there's no difference between any of them for those reasons. So let's go ahead now and look at the Logitech, which is coming up now. Okay, so this does look a little bit different. I will say just quickly, the Logitech and the Relano sitting next to it are probably about 4 to 6 inches closer than the Sony one, but they're there for two reasons. One is I can't mount them back behind there, and number two, generally these are designed to sit on top of your monitor or on top of your laptop, so that's why they are where they are. They are a little bit closer to the other one though, but generally this lens is not as wide an angle lens as the other two, as you will see. The Relano one is actually the one that's closest to me, and you'll see how much wider that is than this one in a second. But to begin with, you can see the color. I look completely different. There's no color in the background. It's still HD, but yeah, it's a bit of a difference between this and the Sony to begin with, and we're going to see if we can make this one look as good as we can in a second in the software, in the streaming software, which is Streamlabs OBS. But before we do that, let's go and have a look at the Relano one to see what that looks like straight out of the box. And there we go, this is the Relano. So this one is actually the closest camera to me. This is probably about an inch or so closer than the Logitech one, and you can see this is still quite a wide angle. This has got a very good wide angle lens. It is not the right color, as you can tell. I mean, I'm all sorts of colors. I'm kind of drowned out. I'm like a greeny blue. It's not good. So the camera color isn't good, but the picture quality could be good. You know, the HD is good. It's picking up good detail. But we've got different colors here. We've got problems with color on both of these webcams, which is what we're going to try and sort out in the software. So let's go ahead and look back at the Logitech. We'll see how good we can get this kind of look to be, and then we're going to see if we can get it anywhere near the Sony camera to begin with. Let's go and look at the Logitech. Okay, we're back at the Logitech camera then. So this is the C920, like I said. Now I will just say this one at full price at this moment in time is a ridiculous like 150 odd pounds. Usually this is about £90, 80 to £90 at full price. I've got this one. I think I bought this one for about 60, but you can buy this one if you get it at the right time of year for like 35, 40 pounds. So it's a good camera if you buy it for the right price. Do not buy it for 150, that's ridiculous. But if you get it for the right price, it's a very good camera. So let's just watch a couple of things. I'm going to do two things. So I'm going to change two settings in Streamlabs OBS, and we're going to put the pictures side by side to see if there's a big difference once I've changed those over. Okay, I've changed the sharpness and the saturation. They were both 128, and I put them both up to 170. This is what I used to do when I used this camera to begin with. So this was the first webcam I bought, and you can see it's changed the picture a little bit here. It still is not perfect, but it's maybe a little bit better than it was. I have also added in another light over on my left here to light up me a little bit. If I turn that off, it does get a little bit darker. So we're going to struggle to get the same amount of light basically in here. The difference between these two and that camera at the back, the Sony, is the lens more than anything else. The lens on that one is very good. It does get a lot of light in. These aren't as good at doing it, so it is a little bit darker. I'm kind of turned into this yellowy orange, but the color of the PC is a bit better. You can start to see a bit more color into the background, so it's a bit good. Maybe a bit too saturated though. I just seem to be a bit too orange, so let's try and change it again a little bit, maybe move it down a touch. Let's see what we come up with. Okay, so this now is at 160 for both instead of 170, so we can see it's got a little bit better. I'm not so orangey yellow, but it's still nowhere near the same picture as this. The biggest difference in between the two is the quality of the color of the background and me. So just really quickly so you can see this, this is kind of how I used to get it looking when I used to stream with this camera, and this is kind of what the other one looks like now. So this is the Logitech and this is the Sony. So we can see there's a bit of a difference. I'm not orange anymore. The camera is picking up a lot more light in the background. Yes, it's a wider angle lens. Yes, it's a little bit further back and a slightly different angle, but it's a completely different color and different shot. So the Logitech is okay, but this is much, much better. Okay, the last thing then with this Logitech one, the last thing I've done is take the saturation down just a little bit further, and I've also unticked the white balance, which is supposed to be on default. It's on automatic. I've unticked that, so I've taken off the white balance. So this now is me setting the white balance. This is actually 6500, but the color is getting a little bit better there now, so I can kind of see the tone or skin tones are a little bit better. You're starting to get kind of a bit more color into the background, so it's kind of getting there. Not perfect, nowhere near as good as the other one, but it's closer to it so than we started. So you can see if you do fiddle about with the settings, you can get this picture good. And just remember, like I will go over later in the video, if you're going to buy this for streaming, you're not going to have this full image really, unless you're going to be doing like a just chatting or something. You're going to be in a small little kind of box in the corner of the screen with maybe other stuff going around you, maybe a webcam border or whatever. So generally you don't need it to be incredibly good, but if you want it to be looking as good as you can get it, then this probably is about where you're going to be. This is going to be difficult to kind of go beyond, unless you go up to one of those better mirrorless cameras. So let's go ahead and look at the Relano one to see how good we can get that, and then let's talk about what they could all be good for in different ways. Okay, so to begin with, this is the Relano as it is, comes out the box. So again, we're going to change some settings in Streamlabs. We're going to see if I can get this from being like a greeny blue into a better color. So let's give that a go first of all, see what we can do, and let's go from there. Okay, so as you can see, this one is a little bit more difficult to get right. Having done quite a few adjustments in Streamlabs, it's still not right. It's quite a bit darker. To get it to the right color or the right kind of colors, I had to go too dark. Then I can't get more light in. So yeah, there's lots of different problems with this one. It isn't perfect in darker settings. I also have another light back on again here, and if I switch that off, again, it does go quite dark. So this is not ideal. Again, this is not a very expensive camera. This is £40 at a full price, so it's kind of maybe kind of what you would expect. Even with good lighting in this room, which it is good. So this is what this camera looks like right now. I'm going to jump to the Sony in a second to show you with no difference apart from the actual camera itself. But generally, this is going to be good for daytime stuff. If you're going to work from home, this camera is probably a fantastic one. It is very good in daylight, actually, in good lighting conditions. But right now, at this moment in time, you can see it isn't great. If you're going to use it just for like conference calls, for maybe Skype calls, things like that, Zoom meetings or whatever it may be, then this is fine. You don't need anything really more than this. It's pretty good, but you can see the color is kind of better, but it's too dark now, and I can't get it right. You've either got good or better lighting and poor color, or good color, poor lighting. Okay, this again then is the Relano, and this is basically with a bit better light, so we're a little bit brighter than we were a second ago, but you can see the skin tones have gone a little bit. It's not quite perfect, but it certainly is a little bit better. We're starting to get some color going into the background a little bit. Certainly up here, we're starting to see a bit of reddy pink. But yeah, we can't get anywhere near the camera, the mirrorless camera, the Sony A5100 with this. We can get there kind of with a Logitech, almost somewhat close, but not really with this one. This one is still good though. We can still use this for certain purposes. Probably not for YouTube, probably not for streaming, but for other purposes, it's okay, you know, it's not too bad. We're not going to get a great deal of better picture quality, unfortunately, because we don't have the settings, and the light, the lens going into this camera just doesn't quite pick up enough light basically to go into it. So let's go and have a look straight back now at the webcam, sorry, not the webcam, we're going to go at the Sony A5100. So straight from this to the Sony, same room, I'm not changing anything. And we can see the difference. So this is what it actually looks like. This is really what it looks like when I turn around. This is the kind of colors I see, and this is how I'm lit up. So we can see the difference between this and the Relano one in the same conditions. This is good lighting in the room, or decent lighting. I could add lights like I have to my side, but I don't need to with this one because this lens is far better than the Relano. They're both quite wide angle lens, I suppose. Wider than the Logitech, that's a narrower wide angle lens. It's still supposed to be a wide angle lens, but just not quite as wide as these two. And again, this one has incredible color. It's got good lighting coming into it. It's got a good amount of light going into the lens, which is the key thing to it. So really then, let's go over why you would buy this, why you would buy the other two, because I still would recommend them for certain things. Like I said a second ago, the Relano for daytime stuff, if you're not streaming, then I'm going to go specifically for working from home. Very, very good. If you're doing Skype calls, Zoom calls, conference calls, anything from home, it's great. It's a very, very good webcam. So I would be probably going for that one. For the price of it, £40, really you can't go wrong for that. So it's a good one for that. Even in darker conditions, I would still probably recommend it out of the three, just because for those reasons you don't really need a good webcam. It's better off buying a good microphone so people can hear you, not a good webcam. Now, if you're going to go into the world of streaming and content creation, YouTube or whatever it may be, I would probably start to up it from there to begin with. So that's where you'd be looking at the Logitech one. Again, the picture with that is pretty good. The color with it is closer to where it needs to be, and the light is a bit better, but it's still nowhere near as good as this one. So if you're on a budget and you want to stream, then go for a Logitech one, because this camera that you're looking at right now is 3 or 4 times more expensive than the Logitech. So I started the Logitech one. I bought a decent microphone, I got an okay camera and good lighting. So those are the kind of the 3 things that you need really for the streaming world, and that's the most important one, is this microphone, a decent microphone so people can hear you. Spend a bit more money on the microphone. I then bought some good lights so that people could see me, and I bought this Logitech one, which was okay to begin with. And then over time, as you start to just build up a bit of confidence where you want to build up your stream quality and maybe do some other stuff, so I started a YouTube channel. My content had to get a bit better, so I wanted a better camera. That's when I moved to this one. So I kept the same. I obviously had a good microphone. I bought a bit more lighting. I had to buy the cam link over there to go with it. So this camera here right now that you're looking at, the Sony, was in full price is about £530 if you include the cam link in it as well. The Logitech, like I said, is 90 and the Relano is 40. So there's a big difference in price between the 3. If you want a better quality one, this really, £530 is the place you need to be starting, because this really is an entry-level mirrorless camera. From there, they go up into the thousands of pounds. So would I recommend this one? This is really for this camera now, the Sony I mean, is for content creation in terms of YouTube channels and streaming. If you want to up your quality of video, then this is kind of the way in which you want to be going towards. You can get better webcams, yes, but they're not going to be as good as this. They just don't have the same settings. So in this camera settings, I've been able to change, I'll just read some things off. I've changed the aperture so it's as low as I can get it, meaning I can get much more light into the lens as I can with these two. The iOS is down to 2500. I don't have those settings on either webcam. The white balance I can set. I've set the contrast, the saturation and the sharpness. So all of those are all set to make this picture quality that you can see right now. I don't have all of those settings in these webcams. I have them kind of a little bit, the last 3 anyway, in the settings on Streamlabs, but they can't do what this camera can do in terms of the different picture. Okay, so to answer the question, can I get a £40 webcam to look like this? The answer is obviously no, I can't. It doesn't pick up the same light, it doesn't pick up the same colors. You just simply can't do it. It's not a good enough lens in the camera. It's not a good enough camera webcam in the first place to do it. But it still has its place. It's not bad. It still has a place in certain daytime. If you do stream in daytime, it probably would still be okay. Instead of the Logitech, buy a better microphone if you're going to use it for streaming, and then just get one of these cheaper webcams. But if you're going to use it for YouTube content creation, videos, other stuff like that, and maybe TikTok or whatever else you want to do, you're better off buying a proper mirrorless camera. But I would still recommend all 3 for a different purpose. The Logitech is fantastic. Like I said, to begin with, for streaming, it's just not going to be as good as this one, certainly for the colors in the background. But if you can get decent lighting, then you can make it look pretty good. And remember, you're not going to be looking at it like this full screen. you're going to have a little kind of webcam box over in the corner somewhere, so it's not a massive necessity to have a very, very good camera when you start. As you build up a little bit, then it's worth it as you go along. But when you begin with, the webcams are fine. But if you do want to splash out and just go all in, then yeah, you go for a mirrorless camera. You need to get a a cam link to go with it, or a capture card to go with it at least, so you can get that sent over to the computer. And you will also need a dummy battery as well if you want it to run without stopping. So that's what you need. It's a bit more expensive, but it is very, very good because of the quality of the picture. Alright guys, that's the end of the video. I hope you enjoyed this one. We did attempt to try and get these webcams as good as we could. They're nowhere near as good as a standard mirrorless camera, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. If you do have any comments or any other ideas of how maybe you could get these better, pop those in the comment section below. And also, you will find me streaming on Twitch, Facebook, and now YouTube every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Links will be in the description below if you want to come and check them out. It'd be great to see you there. And also guys, please remember to drop that like if you did enjoy the video, hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on. The support's hugely appreciated and it really does help this channel. And until next time guys, keep gaming, keep safe, good night, GG.